let's bring in Mario Singh. He's Director, Training and Education at FXpremise.com, joining us now on set in Singapore. Mario, thanks very much for coming in. The big question seems to be, is it going to be one of those weeks where people just sit on the sidelines? It's a holiday shortened week in the U.S. And of course, we have a few interest rate decisions, but in the UK, you're not expecting any change. Canada, Australia, can they really influence the market to the point where the market really starts moving?
Well, what's happening this week is really coming out of what happened last week in terms of the NFP results, what we saw on Friday with the US numbers. Now, in terms of private sector hiring, where we saw there were 67,000 jobs that were added. So based on that, what's going to be happening this week, I do see some risk flows going into the euro. I see it going to the Canada. So that's why I'm still seeing that for the Lumi, I would expect them to actually increase their interest rates to 1% instead of 0.75. Having said that, what's keeping me a little bit of a, or giving me a bit of a raised eyebrow, is the fact that while the NFP numbers were considered stellar, they were literally double the numbers in terms of what the economists were expecting. But the ISM figures for the non-manufacturing businesses, which literally account for 90% of the businesses in USA, they had a big shortfall in terms of the numbers that came out at about 51.5.
Mario, the other question then seems to be what happened with the peripherals, because last week Spain's auction, well, it went off. It didn't go off to great guns. You've got a number of other auctions coming up. This month it's, what, double what it was in the month of August for Europe. On an overall basis, where does the euro go if interest or appetite is slightly starting to wane?
I do see the euro heading up to about handle about 130. We see it now about, I think, 128.94. It is testing the 129 levels, and that was literally helped, I think, last week when we had the Chinese Premier Hu Jintao, who literally placed his weight upon euro, saying in particular the Spanish banks, that he's encouraging many investors to be investing in the Spanish banks. So because of that, we do see a lot of risk flows, a lot of capital inflows into the euro, and I do see that literally increasing as the week goes by.
You know, as far as risk is concerned, we've got three central bank meetings, BOJ, the RBA, the BOK, and what I find interesting is that we have been getting quite a bit of excitement here because of the non-farm payrolls, but one research report that I was reading suggested maybe we should be focusing more on services PMI instead of manufacturing because of the inventory adjustments that we had, and services PMI is a more accurate picture of where we stand in terms of demand and where we're going to go.
I fully agree with that, Chloe, which is why there's some raised eyebrows in terms of the NFP, which were good numbers. But in terms of the ISM, it literally fell in terms of the lowest numbers in the last 7 months. So we are really on the sidelines in terms of how these figures are going to be playing out. We won't know for sure until next month when there's a revision in the numbers.
Which meetings are you most keen on?
Well, I'm looking at, there's three in particular, but I do see the BOE, the Bank of England, will be holding steady at 0.5. We see the RBI, I think that's going to be holding steady at 4.5%, but particularly for the Bank of Canada, I see it increasing 0.25 to 1%. They've got to really, in terms of how the global economy is faring, but they've got to see in terms of how inflation is being stoked domestically. So I do see in terms of that they would actually push the button and have interest rates raised to 1% this week.
Right, Maria?
Maria here in Bahrain. Now, President Obama's economic advisor is in China today. What do you think will come out of these talks and how will it affect the yuan?
Well, the talk literally has been the same consensus over the last few months, and that's going to be about appreciation of the Chinese yuan. So until that happens, literally, I think those, in terms of their relationship, is going to be a little bit tense. But I think in terms of their, what's going to be happening, one of their agendas, literally, it's got to be the appreciation of the yuan. In the investing world, they see that.
Do you think this week's trade data will reinforce that view?
It might just. So that's one of the big numbers that's watching this week, especially since today by trading is muted. They've got to increase it. In terms of the investing world, it's still depreciated about 20%.
20%, got it.